words have power because we are kings and our words matter.
What did God do? He went and took out that pressure. He said, not on the basis of your obedience, on the basis of my son's perfect obedience. Pressure is gone.
Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time, the kind of religion that I used to have. Give me that old-time religion, yeah, yeah. Hallelujah, good enough for me. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time, the kind of religion that I used to have. Give me that old-time religion, yeah, yeah. Hallelujah, good enough for me. It was good for Paul and Silas. It was good for Paul and Silas. It was good for Paul and Silas, yeah, yeah. Hallelujah, good enough for me. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion that I used to have. Give me that old-time religion, yeah, yeah. Hallelujah, good enough for me. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion that I used to have. Give me that old-time religion, yeah, yeah. Hallelujah, good enough for me. It was good for mommy and daddy. It was good for mama and papa. It was good for mama and daddy, yeah, yeah. Hallelujah, good enough for me. It was good for mommy and daddy. It was good for mommy and daddy. It was good for mama and daddy, yeah, yeah. Hallelujah, good enough for me. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion that I used to have. Give me that old-time religion, yeah, yeah. Hallelujah, good enough for me. It was good for the child. It is good for FFT. It is good for all of us. Yeah, yeah. Hallelujah, good enough for me. It is good for the child. It is good for the child. It is good, yeah, yeah. Hallelujah, good enough for me. It is good for the child. It is good for the child. It is good, yeah, yeah. Hallelujah, good enough for me. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that, the kind of religion that I used to have. Give me that old-time religion, yeah, yeah. Hallelujah, good enough for me. Hallelujah, good enough for me. Hallelujah, good enough for me. Hallelujah, good enough for me.
Pastor Sam Chelladurai invites you to the special Christmas and New Year services of AFT Chennai. The service will be held at the Jesus Calls campus in Vanagaram, Chennai. Our Christmas service is on December 25th at 6 a.m. and our New Year service is on December 31st at 10 p.m. Messages will be in English with translation in Tamil. Everyone is welcome. We hope to see you there. What does God see and bless you? Does He see your works and bless you? Or does He see something else? We gave you the answer to it, right? The answer is not on the basis of my works, but on the basis of His grace alone. That is, His grace means on the basis of what He has done for me in and through Christ by His Spirit. So it's not that works are not at all in the picture. No. Works are there. It's just that it's not your works or my works. It's Christ's perfect work, right? It's God's work. On the basis of His own work, His Son's work, He looks at me and He blesses me. Not on the basis of my works, not on the basis of my good works, not on the basis of my my good works could even be law works or Bible works. I could even go to the Bible and take all the commandments and try to do them, but not even on the basis of my obedience to His holy commandments can I get blessed. That's what we've been saying. Not even the ability to go stand before God as righteous. That's what we spoke last week, right? God doesn't even let you in the door on the basis of your good works. If you go trusting in your good works, they will stop you right at the gate of God's mansion. No entry allowed here. You come wearing Christ's perfect work as your righteousness, free entry. No questions asked. You can go all the way to the throne room of God, and not only are you allowed to enter, you can participate, partake of all the blessings of God. You can enjoy everything in God's mansion if you come wearing Christ's righteousness as a coat without any attachments, right? Those badges I showed you last week, if you look at them separately, it has its own worth, They look quite colorful. There's many colors. There's a nice circle going on. It looks like the sun. There's some value to it. But once you put it on this expensive suit, right, it loses its value. Once, our works, I'm not saying our works don't have any value. Our works do have value. But once you put it on the righteousness of Christ, on the work of Christ, well, then you're just spoiling the beauty of Christ's righteousness, right? There is a big objection to this type of teaching. Okay, and the objection goes something like this. If you teach like this, if you teach saying your obedience will not bring blessing, your obedience is not the basis for blessing, it's His grace that is the basis, is grace alone. Like you said last 3 weeks, grace alone, through faith alone, by faith, through faith alone, in Christ alone, If you say alone, 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 then why would anybody now go out and obey God's commandments? So the objection goes something like this. If I preach like this, then why should we go and obey? Right? If my obedience to God's commandments is not the basis for God to bless me, then why should I obey? If God doesn't bless me based on whether I sin or not, right? If God doesn't look at whether I sin or not, right? If those things don't matter, remember last week I said, even your sin cannot stop your blessing. You remember that? I said, even your sin cannot stain the perfect righteousness of Christ. This is stain-free, wrinkle-free, right? So, people say, if you say like that, then you're encouraging people to sin. You're saying your sin cannot stain the beautiful coat you're wearing, and therefore they'll go sin all they want and say, I'm wearing the righteousness of Christ, and walk right in, See, what the objection is, this type of teaching encourages people to sin. It does not lead them to a holy life. If my holy living won't make me more eligible to receive anything from God, right? If my holy living does not make me eligible to receive anything from God, then why should I live a holy life? I have not really addressed this question. And it is an important issue. Today, I'm going to show you that this objection is not valid. I'm going to show you, in fact, that this teaching, what I've been teaching for the last 3 weeks, that is, if you rely on grace alone, right, it will not lead you to sin. It will actually lead you to live a righteous life. It will lead you to more obedience, not less obedience. I'm going to show you how that's true. I'm going to show you that this teaching is the foundational way that God has designed to enable us to live holy lives in obedience to His commandments. I'm going to show you, in fact, that the only way to live a godly, holy, righteous life is to believe this, that is grace alone. This should be what you believe. That is the only way to be without, live without sinning and live a holy, righteous life. Because if this type of teaching leads us to sin, right? Just think about it for a minute. Suppose you heard me for 3 weeks and now you took it seriously and you went and lived by this teaching, right? And God forbid, it led you to sin. And you go deep into sin, thinking, well, Jeevan said, Doesn't matter, your sin will never stain the righteousness of Christ. And so you go deep and deep into sin, and you continue to say, I'm blessed, by God's grace, I receive everything, and so on, so on. If you end up like that, then this teaching is not correct. Okay? Either this teaching is not correct, or you have misunderstood it. Something is wrong. What I'm saying is, if you end up sinning and not living a righteous life as a result of this teaching, please don't accept this teaching. Just throw it out. No, this is very serious business, right? I mean it in all seriousness. The true test of this teaching is this. Are you getting more blessed? Okay, that's one test. But that's not enough. It's not enough if you just get more blessed. The other test, the true test for this teaching is this enabling you to live a more righteous life? Is this enabling you to live more free of sin? Okay? If it does not, then there's something wrong either in the teaching or the way you've understood it. There's something big, drastically wrong. I'm going to show you that this teaching will actually enable you to live more righteously, free from sin, fulfill God's plan and purpose for your life. This is the God-ordained way. All right, let's begin. Okay? I want to begin by looking at my opposers. Right? People who oppose this type of teaching. Let's consider them for a minute. Now, why I want to begin there is, see, they are accusing this type of teaching, grace teaching, right? Okay, they're saying this type of teaching will not lead to obedience. Okay, fine, let's look at their teaching. Does their teaching lead to obedience? Okay? Does their teaching lead to more obedience? Think about that for a minute. I'm talking about, the kind of teaching that goes, if you don't do this, God will break your leg. If you don't do this, you might meet with an accident. If you don't give your tithes properly, you might meet with an accident. Something bad may happen to you. That type of teaching, some people take it to the very extreme. In many Pentecostal circles, this is taken to an extreme, right? If you don't do this, this will happen. If you do that, very works-based, right? And they, week after week, they're preaching this. They're getting people scared. They're trying to pressurize them into doing something, right? Now, let me ask you, is their type of teaching working? Does it produce more obedience in the lives of people? Let's take the example of tithes, right? Preachers like to, scold the people. In many churches, they scold the people for not giving the tithes properly, right? They say, because that's why your life is in a mess. You're not giving your tithe properly. That's why your life, start giving that properly, then everything will. Now, week after week, they're telling them this. The truth of the matter is, the fact of the issue is, if you take statistics in these type of churches, you will find that most people don't give their tithes. Even after listening to all the scoldings, even after listening to all the threatenings, they still can't cough up the 10%. Still not enough for them to put their hand in their wallet and take out the 10%. They put maybe 5%, 6%, 7%, 10%. No, God will break your leg. Well, let me see whether he really does it. What I'm saying is, just the fact that the preacher every week is preaching works and threatening people again and again shows me that their teaching doesn't work. Okay? For a long time, a lot of churches are preaching like this. They have the same group of people every Sunday. The church doesn't seem to be growing. It's the same group meeting every week. There's not a lot of new people. To the same people, they are shouting again and again, saying, you have to do this. You have to do that. Don't do this. God will do this if you do that. They're threatening them week after week. The threats have not stopped. The preaching has not changed. That tells me people have not obeyed. If people are starting to obey more and more, then what will happen in the preaching? He will start to tone it down, the preacher. Right? The threats will go less and less and finally go away. Why? People are obeying. They are paying attention to all the threats. They are giving in to all the pressure, but it doesn't seem to be working. The threats seem to be getting worse and worse. The next week he's threatening more, because people didn't listen to the last week threats. He's putting more and more pressure on the people. That itself is a proof that their teaching does not work, my friend. It does not work. Are you telling me the people in all those churches are living pure, holy, sinless lives? Obeying more and more? Like the light of the righteous is like the light of, the light of dawning which shines brighter and brighter, the Bible says. Are they becoming like that? Brighter and brighter? They seem to be getting duller and... you go see the people who believe in the opposite teaching. Are their lives getting better? Are they getting more holy, more righteous? I say to you, no. The preaching is proof of that, okay? But they still put pressure on people. Why? Preachers believe in putting pressure, more pressure. They think if you put enough pressure, the fellow will give in, the believer will give in, start to obey God's commandments. Why? Because the whole world seems to operate in this performance-based pressure. Okay? You look at the workplace. You go to work. There they're putting pressure on you. You have to come at a certain time. If you come 15 minutes late for 3 days, then one day salary is cut. Okay? Your lunch break is only half an hour. That's very strict. Right? You got to stay all the way till 5 or 5:30. All kinds of rules. Why? They're trying to keep you in check. You cannot be meddling around in Facebook while at work. So some companies even, you don't even allow, you can't even access Facebook, right? Or your personal email. They make it like that. Some companies, they don't have the facility to do that. So they have somebody going rounds, watching whether you're going on Facebook, whether you're doing your own work at their expense. See, the idea is you just keep pressuring people. You can get them to do what you want them to do. That's how the workplace runs by and large. There are exceptions, but I'm talking about mostly how things run. Well, that's exactly, imagine, a guy who's getting a lot of pressure at work, right? He has to perform, If he doesn't perform, he's finished, right? And his boss is putting pressure, his colleagues are putting pressure, and he comes home at the end of the day. And unfortunately, some wives in the home also put more pressure on the guy, And if it's a large family, sometimes you get pressure from other sides, right? And from own children sometimes pressurize the man. Pressure everywhere, at workplace, at home. This is even there in school. The teacher is telling the student in school, if you don't do your homework, you'll get nice thrashing, right? Caning. A lot of schools now, they've become a little more modern, right? They don't believe in the thrashing, right? They believe in shaming people. So all the people who failed this exam, please stand up. Let's shame you in front of everybody. Maybe the shame will keep you, the fear of shame will keep you from failing. So you got to stand up, and then he'll give you one lecture and shame you a little more, right? But, some people give in to that type of pressure. But some fellows, they're shameless. They stand again and again. The pressure doesn't seem to work for them, you see. Otherwise, they say, you don't do your homework? Okay, we can't beat you now. They put some laws and all. So go out of the class. Stand outside. Get out, So there's some kind of, rewards, punishment. It's like, it works on this basis. Performance basis, right? Even small children at home learn this very early. They think, as long as I do things well, I'll get good things, right? My parents will love me more if I can satisfy them, right? They'll give me the cycle, they'll give me this, they'll buy me that toy. If I get good marks, right? The child, even a small child, learns this performance-based life, right? And so this performance-based world comes into the church. People gather into the church, and the preacher thinks they're pressuring them at work. They're pressuring them at home. They're pressuring them at school. They're pressuring them everywhere. So my job now is surely to do the same thing, right? I've got to put my pressure on them. I am standing here on behalf of God as a representative of God, and I'm here to lay God's pressure on. I can't really blame the preacher, because most of the world seems to run like this. The preacher gets fooled into thinking this is how he also should run the church. But is this the preacher's job, my friend? You remember, let me say it like this. God doesn't want you to have any pressure. God doesn't want to put any sort of pressure on you. I don't care who you are, what kind of pressure you are facing in your work, in your home, in your school, in your college. Let me say to you, God doesn't want you to bear any pressure. What did Jesus say? Come unto me, all ye that are heavy and labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you some more burdens. Did he say that? No. He said, I will give you rest. If you're burdened, come to me, I will give you rest. If you're burdened, cast your burdens on the Lord, for he cares for you. Jesus was not in the business of, putting more pressure on people who already have pressure. No, he was in the business of taking out the pressure that people had. And the preacher is also supposed to be in the same business. When the people come into the church having all kinds of pressure in their heads, it's the preacher's job to show them how God can help them remove all that pressure and make it easy for them. My friend, this is what the preacher is there to do, but unfortunately, preachers get influenced by the world. They think if the world can put so much pressure, if they can withstand so much pressure at work, then God should put more pressure, But that's not the way God likes it. God doesn't want us to bear any type of pressure. That is why he has freed us from all pressure. He has freed us from the pressure of sin. Right? Sin was putting pressure on us. Sin was treating us like a slave, was ordering us around, was threatening us. Before we became believers. Right? Some people, unbelievers out in the world, sometimes think they are living a very free life. They think, I'm not like you. I don't have to live holy and righteous. I'm living free. I can do whatever I want. Wrong. They are doing whatever the devil wants. The devil is pulling the strings. It's so bad that they don't even know he's pulling the strings. But he's behind them, telling them where to go, what to do. He's controlling them. They're under the whole world light and the power of the evil one. He's controlling them. Sin is controlling them. And Jesus comes, and God, in and through Christ, what he does, he removes the power of sin from our lives. He breaks that bondage to sin. We are no longer under dominion to sin. He removes us from the kingdom of darkness, from the kingdom of the devil, and puts us into the kingdom of his dear son, right? Into his kingdom. He removes us from the bondage to the devil. He removes us from all kinds of, he takes away all kinds of bondage. That is what God is doing. That is the gospel. The gospel is about removing all types of bondage, all types of pressure. God wants us to bear no pressure. And he believes in no pressure to the extent that he has even freed us. Listen to this. God believes in no pressure. Right? Everybody say no pressure. God believes in no pressure to the extent that he has even freed us from any pressure that might come due to obeying his commandments. I don't know if you caught that. God believes in no pressure to the extent that he has even freed you from all pressure that the law, his holy commandments, could put on you. Let me call it law pressure. You know how they say blood pressure, right? BP. This is like LP, law pressure. This is the pressure that the law can put on you. What is the law? The law is the rules and regulations in the Bible, right? A lot of do's and don'ts. It's there. A lot are there in the Old Testament, but there are in the New Testament also, right? The Bible commands us to do certain things, not to do certain things. Now, pay attention. This may sound very controversial, okay? Sometimes, you know how it is, we feel pressured to do God's commandments, right? You know the feeling? Oh, I have to obey God. Some temptation comes and you think, oh, I have to obey God. If I don't obey God, I'm finished here, right? Something bad will happen to me, gone. So therefore, let me obey God. Or you're thinking everything is going well right now in your life, and you're thinking, well, I don't know how long it can continue like this. I hope I don't get into any big sins. I hope I don't disobey God and lose my way and go off somewhere. There's a pressure. There's a pressure to doing his commandments, to pleasing him. Are you paying attention? There is a pressure that comes with doing his will. Sometimes we feel pressured. We're thinking, am I doing the will of God? What if I'm not? We feel pressured about that. God doesn't even want us to feel pressured about that. How can I say that? Well, if you say obedience will only bring you blessing, that is putting pressure. Right? If God had said, I will bless you on the basis of your obedience, then that, now what has happened? He would have put pressure on our obedience, right? We'll be pressured, we will be feeling pressured to obey. We'll feel pressure to obey and thereby receive blessing, right? Or receive something. What he did, he took out that pressure. He said, no, your blessing is not based on your obedience. Pressure, gone. He said, you can't receive anything from me based on your obedience to my holy commandments. Pressure. Now I don't have to think, oh, let me do the commandments so that I can receive something from. I don't have to be under that pressure. He removes the. If he had said, only if you live a holy, righteous life, only if you are pure, only if you do my commandments faithfully, then only I will accept you. If he had said like that, then only I will welcome you. Then only I will treat you good. Then only I will show my love to you. If God had said like that, that would be putting a little bit of pressure. We'll be feeling pressure to obey his commandments, right? Why? Then only God will accept us. Otherwise, God will reject us. But what did God do? He went and took out that pressure. He said, not on the basis of your obedience, on the basis of my son's perfect obedience. Pressure is gone.
In your name, powers of darkness tremble. Jericho tumbles to the ground. In your name, chains of death are broken. Lord of hosts, pull the power out. We have overcome by the name and the blood of the Lamb of God. Every wall must fall, every knee must bow to the Lord of all. In your name, every curse is broken, sin and death underneath your feet. In your name, we will bow before you. Every tribe, every tongue will sing. We have overcome by the name and the blood of the Lamb of God. Every wall must fall, every knee must bow to the Lord of all. We have overcome. We have overcome by the name and the blood of the Lamb of God. Every wall must fall, every knee must bow to the Lord of all. There'll be victory in the camp at the shout of El Shaddai. Every enemy will flee from the fire